Welcome to episode 1 of Managing University Life. This episode is called Moving from High School to College.
Welcome to Managing University Life, a 6-part series where we teach you how to be a university student and how to begin learning adult skills of studying, time management, and interpersonal relationships, which will help you to be happier and more successful now and in later life. In general, in university you have much more freedom than in high school, but you have much more responsibility for your own actions. And so in this episode, the first thing we'll be looking at are the differences between high school and university life. Understanding that the habits and attitudes you developed in high school are not necessarily going to match the ones you need in college will help you adjust faster to a new environment. The first category is academics. High school usually has highly structured classes and schedules which are set for you. University offers more flexible schedules and less structured classes, meaning more options, but also more decisions.
In university, you're going to have more control and choice over assignment topics. That's a good thing.
In high school, teachers are often held responsible for student success. In university, students are largely responsible for their own success or failure. In high school, teachers tell students what and how to study and what will be on the test. In university, it is up to each student to read and understand the assigned material.
Learning at a university level will require you to develop good study habits, a topic we'll be talking about in further episodes.
In high school, teachers often reteach and review areas that students have trouble with. In university, the class moves on with or without you.
This is why attendance is so important in university. And by that, we mean active attendance.
Simply being there and being asleep or playing on your phone is not really attending class and won't result in you learning much or anything.
The second category is behavior. In high school, you mostly do as you're told, bali bali. In university, you act as an independent adult and make responsible choices.
We'll also be talking about time management in future episodes, but for now, you'll need to become better at making your own schedule.
In high school, students who break the rules or cheat on assignments will be punished or corrected. University students who can't manage their behavior may be failed, suspended, or expelled. In high school, students remain in school regardless of grades or behavior. In university, professors may fail students for poor effort or grades, and continuation is not guaranteed. The next category is effort. In high school, effort is very important. Hard work alone may get you an A. In university, your best effort is already expected, and effort alone is not a guarantee of success. In high school, it is rare for a student who actually tries to fail. In university, students are expected to demonstrate higher levels of understanding and apply learning to a variety of new situations. The last category is responsibilities. In high school, parents or guardians make most decisions. In university, students make most decisions related to school, social life, time management, or money. In high school, teachers ask if you need help if they see you are having problems. In university, students must monitor their own progress and seek professors' assistance when necessary.
Keep track of your exam or assignment scores early on in the semester and visit your professor's office regularly if you sense any difficulty or problems.
Professors probably won't feel sorry for you if you wait until the course is over and grades have already been posted to say that you didn't understand the material. And after a certain deadline, they may not be able to change your grades even if they want to.
In high school, teachers continually remind you of homework or test dates. In university, professors expect you to know and to follow the syllabus.
The syllabus is the course outline. It will tell you important details about exam dates and class rules.
Many new students find all this a little scary, but just as you no longer need to wear a uniform like you did in high school, and now have the right to wear what you like, you now have more right to do what you like. To repeat the main point, university offers you more freedom than high school. But university also requires you to take responsibility for your learning. You will be treated like an adult, but expected to act like one.
So, test time. Which one of these students is acting like a college student?
Come in.
교수님, 성적이 안 좋았어. 내 장학금 있는데 그거 올리지 않으면 저녁도 먹고 내일 학교도 못 나가요.
This student is physically in college but mentally still in high school. She appreciates the freedom of university but abused it by skipping class and not doing her work. But she still wants the security of passing by whining. Professors have heard the promise that I'll study harder 1,000,000 times, and it usually doesn't work. So let this be lesson number 1. No whining.
Come in.
Professor Rittenhouse, I wonder if I might ask you about your methodology for grading the recent exam. I'd like to understand a little bit better so I can study and maybe elevate my grade in the future.
Well, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah.
This student takes responsibility for her poor grade and asks the professor politely for help so that she can improve her performance. The professor is much more likely to help this person, and the student is much more likely to avoid making this mistake again. But a reminder, one of the hardest parts of growing up is realizing that parents and teachers are human beings, and that sometimes they don't know the right answer. The subjects you're going to learn are difficult. Sometimes your professors make mistakes. Except for your beloved narrator. I never make mistakes.
That's garbage. Don't listen to him.
So why are you here? We don't mean right now as you watch this video, but why are you here in university? If you're taking a humanities program and not a STEM subject, how does studying linguistics or literature or history benefit you in your life or career? If you study engineering, you will probably become an engineer, and if you study art or nursing, you'll likely enter those occupations. But what does a liberal arts program or course do for you? It might be a springboard into a particular career such as teaching, but a humanities degree is not always about content, it is often about process. What are you learning to do while you are learning a subject? Learning about current affairs, or morphology, or translation, or postmodernism might be useful in itself for a future job, or just because you find the ideas enjoyable. The skills you are acquiring in analyzing and problem solving while learning these subjects can be as valuable as the knowledge of the subjects itself. Moreover, whereas in the past you probably repeated the pattern of learning material, and then regurgitating it onto the test paper, workplaces don't usually work like that. The reason you do all this work of analysis and problem solving in real life is to explain your ideas to other people in a presentation or a paper or some project. And this is something else you'll be practicing in college. The professor might honestly be interested in your opinion about Brexit or Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice, but he or she is probably more interested in how you arrived at that opinion and how persuasively you can explain it, and perhaps how well you worked with other people if it was a team effort. And we can nearly guarantee you this: although communicating your ideas may be hard and may be scary at first, it will be more fun than filling in bubbles on a paper.
Professor, don't you think it's possible that Ireland will pull out of the EU currency?
오빠, 원래 독도는 한국의 땅이었어.
예,
근데
예.
이제 일본 사람들 자기 땅이라고 하는 거야.
예, 그래,
오빠, 어떻게 할 수 있습니까?
예.
싸우겠습니까?
그래. 예, 예.
Let's look at a few cultural differences which you may experience as you interact with people from various places. Here's a simple question to get us started. Do Eastern and Western people think differently? Are their brains wired with different circuits? Let's look at a couple of expressions because they can help illustrate these cultural differences. First, imagine that you have recently taken a test that was very easy. You felt that you knew all the right answers. So if you're a Korean person and a Korean speaker, you might say, it was like eating rice cake while lying down. If you're a Westerner from an English-speaking country, you might say it was a piece of cake. Both of these expressions mean that it was a very simple task, but they're both very different. We should keep in mind that we're of course dealing with generalizations and that billions of people do not think the same way. But these two idioms illustrate one of the differences about the two civilizations which affects some of the way people speak and think, based on how they adapted to the environment they were in. Let's go a little bit further. You might say that there's a geography of thought. This means that there are different countries in different parts of the world. Some in northern areas where it's typically cool, some in the equatorial areas where it's hotter, and some down south where it can also be cold. Both climates and the separations between continents, east and west, affect human values and philosophies. One system is not necessarily better than the other. They are just different in some ways. A lot of Western thought can be understood by looking at the syllogism form. A syllogism is a fancy word that means a type of structured, logical argument. On the Eastern side, we have the Tao, or the Dao, as the Hanja says. Tao, according to Wikipedia, refers to the idea that there is an essential natural order of existence in the way the world works. And the proper behavior means trying to find a way to reconcile or accept or work within these natural rules and environments that you find yourself in. We can see that more than 2 billion people are heirs to this broad frame of thought. So going back to ancient Greece for a moment, they had the tradition of debate, which involves firing arguments back and forth between people or groups, and logical attacks and counterattacks using evidence and reasoning. The idea was to see which claim could best stand up to the assault of the opposing argument. Decisions of all kinds were made by debate, with the emphasis on logical reasoning, data, and other evidence which can support your position. This is still the cornerstone of Western academic research. Ancient Greece also had the philosophical tradition of identifying characteristics of individual objects, ideas, or people or places, and classifying or analyzing them. It was assumed that characteristics are permanent and stable and don't change, no matter what context or environment they are placed in. So it was possible, they thought, to isolate different features or variables of an object in order to study and test them to see what happens. On the other hand, we have ancient Chinese thought, with its emphasis on harmony and a smooth working order of a system or a group of people, or even an environment or nation. This was more important than individual agency. That is, the thing or force which causes the result to happen. It's more important to ensure harmony in the whole, and for this reason there is a strong emphasis on maintaining the relationships within the system. Additionally, because relationships are so important, they concluded that characteristics such as personality, which you show to others, is affected by where you are. When you're at home with your parents, you might be more respectful and calm. You want to keep a harmonious relationship so that your parents will continue to support you. But when you go out with your friends, you have a different style, a more outgoing or fun personality. So to know more about you as a person, you study your relationship in your different environments, your classroom, your home, and anywhere you socialize with your friends. All of these different environments show a different part of you and your personality. Following this, even objects and ideas might change or have different purposes or concepts depending on their context or environments.
Here's a little test to show you some different ways of seeing the world. First, just take the test. Answer the question, what goes with this cow? Item A, the chicken, or item B, the grass. Most North Americans in previous tests put the chicken and the cow in the same category. Why did they do this? Chickens and cows are farm animals, and because they are both animals, they fit in the animal category. Most East Asian students place the grass and the cow together because they have a relationship. Cows eat grass. Europeans, not surprisingly, were in the middle, with some choosing the chicken and some the grass. So you can see that the researcher who made this test wanted to determine what's important to different cultures. The American students emphasize categories, and the Asian students emphasize relationships. So, why are we telling you all these crazy things about cows and chickens? Not because we are teaching you how to be farmers, but to help you understand that your university education will involve both Eastern and Western models of academics. In your classrooms, your professors may prefer or even shift between these models, and knowing something about these two broad mindsets may help you. In a Western-style class, for example, or one with foreign professors, professors will expect a great deal of involvement on your part. Instead of telling you the answer, they may ask you questions to guide your thinking, so that you can discover the answer. This is called the Socratic method. Often, correct answers are not so important as answers that lead you to better reasoning skills. Western academics often rely on what's called the scientific method. This method can be applicable to many things. How you approach a classroom project, or group project, or even how you might structure an essay assignment. Broadly, it works by taking a question and then forming a theory or possible hypothesis to answer that question. Then you try it out and test it, and if it doesn't work, you try other modifications until it hopefully works. As we discussed earlier, when we talk about process education, it's not essential that you find the correct solution, but that you learn to reason with the problem.
Active learners pace themselves. It's not the amount of time that you spend. It's the things that you accomplish with that time. An active learner is someone who is not content to simply walk into a classroom and warm up a chair. It's a person who has purpose to get as much as possible from their college career. You're responsible to yourself to ensure that you are managing your time, you're getting value out of your class and out of the time you spend doing things. And sure, you're responsible to other people too, your professors, your classmates, and so on. And active learners know this and they're aware of this. If you sit in class and passively stare at the whiteboard or glance at the clock all the time, you may not remember anything you've heard and may not learn anything of use. Now, you might wonder, how do you expect us to become active learners? Well, like I said earlier, you should pace yourself. It's an acronym, and P is preparation, obviously. Before you begin something, you need to be prepared. Let's look at what else preparation might be. Yes, you should come to class because, well, otherwise it's very difficult to get much of value from your class. And in the hopefully rare event that you can't attend your class, please be sure to talk to a friend and get their notes. And you can always talk to the professor to see what you missed. These kind of resources and informative materials are not simply there to look good or waste paper. They're meant to help you. Surely your professor has mentioned it in class and asked you to read chapters or maybe even do exercises in your book. So yes, it's obvious, but bring these things each day. Professors don't give out assignments simply to hear their own voices. We can hear our voices in the shower every day, thank you. La la la. That, in a nutshell, is what it means to be prepared. It's a very necessary beginning step, which can help you with the next step. And that is using active listening to be an active listener. The opposite side is passive listeners. If you walk into a class expecting to gain something of value, you most likely will. But if from the very beginning you're already disappointed to be there, you're annoyed that it's 9 a.m. or something else, you will probably have difficulty listening carefully or realizing the importance of anything your professor says. In that case, you might as well leave and go back to bed. Yep, passive listeners will either wait for someone to tell them, hey, write this down, it's on the test. Or they will wait and wait and wait until something really loud or obvious happens. Since passive listeners don't pay close attention, and this will probably reinforce their idea that you, the professor or another classmate, didn't have anything useful to say to begin with. Because they're not actively, willfully engaged in what's going on in class, will easily find their mind wandering to other more important things, and as a result, they won't have a clue what's going on. Okay, now that we've seen passive listeners, let's look at what you need, active listening skills. When practicing active listening, you'll generally be able to get more and do more with the time that you spend in class. And the time that you spend in that class will typically move more quickly, and you won't notice that your class was an hour and a half. Whether you actually paid for the class, or your parents or your scholarship did, is not the point. The class was paid for, and you spent your time to sit in that class. So, you ought to get something out of it. Otherwise, why bother? Active listeners know there is a good reason to pay attention and get something in return for their effort. Active listeners also know they'll have homework, projects, presentations, or exams, or all of the above. And they know that having good notes, summarized in a way that they can understand, are extremely, extremely helpful. It's all about your attitude. If you've got a positive attitude, you're going to find what you need, and the class is going to be a good experience. Those active listeners focus, focus, focus. They may realize that they tend to get sleepy around 1:30, and so maybe they're the person who brings in a cup of coffee or some cold water to drink. This, in a nutshell, is what active listening is all about. Next, we have commitment, a pledge or vow to take action. This is where we encourage you to make a promise, a pledge to yourself, and to maximize the benefits you get. Surely, you must hate to have your time wasted for you, so don't waste your own time. And now, to round out our acronym, let's look at engagement. And no, we are not talking about girls and guys in love getting married. We're talking about involvement. We don't want you to think that we're encouraging unending, unceasing, 100% output on your part. That's exhausting and unhelpful at best. Whatever you do, there is going to be a middle path that you can take, a compromise that ought to be reached. You can spend your time doing the things which are valuable to you, whatever they might be. You need to find what is the balance for yourself. If you become known among your classmates as a positive, insightful, open, and careful person, you're probably going to attract people who, enjoy or seek out your advice, and also people who are willing to give you advice because they know that you will take it carefully and considerately, and do something useful with it. That is, we'd like you to engage, get involved, strengthen your ideas by presenting them. Obviously, being asleep is the most apparent, obvious, and extreme case of being disengaged. You're disconnected from nearly everything around you. But if you're asleep, you have no idea what's going on. This completes PACE, our suggestion of how you can get the most out of your classes and your college career.
If you're just beginning university, in your first semester you may be feeling a combination of excitement and terror. And that's normal. You're entering new routines and new ways of doing things and making new friends. I felt the same way when I started university. For the first month I remember feeling stressed every day and coming home and watching cartoons to feel better. It will take some time for university life to feel natural for you, and I can only tell you to be persistent. For most people it does get better. And for some of you there's the opposite danger, that you might like university too much. I did, and stayed too long, and ended up becoming a professor.